You ever notice how the most dangerous things aren't out there in the streets, or in the shadows, or in some far off land? No, 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 they're closer. Much closer. Sometimes they're right under your nose, sitting quietly where you sleep, where you eat, where you breathe. Everyone keeps looking outside for the threat, for the thief, for the monster, but the real poison, it's already in your room, hidden in plain sight, dressed up as comfort, disguised as something harmless. That little thing you've been ignoring, that object, that memory, that habit, that secret. Oh, it's not just sitting there. It's watching you, feeding on you, laughing every time you pretend it doesn't matter. And you keep telling yourself, it's nothing, it's small, it can wait. But small things grow teeth. Small things rot foundations. Small things choke you while you sleep. The truth is, you know exactly what it is. You've always known, but you've been too afraid to touch it, too attached to let it go. And that's why it owns you. The funny thing about danger is, it's never where you expect it to be. People always think it's outside. The chaos in the streets, the noise in the city, the shadows in the dark corners. That's what they fear. But the real danger, the one that eats at you slowly, the one that strangles you without lifting a finger, is the one you've been living with, breathing with, sleeping next to. It's not the stranger at your door, it's the silence in your room. That little presence you've gotten used to, that object you keep telling yourself is harmless, that thought that lingers in the back of your head like a whisper you pretend not to hear. That's the real killer, because the things closest to you are the ones you stop questioning. You let them sit, you let them stay, because you convince yourself they belong. But what if the very thing you've made a home for is the reason you can't breathe freely anymore? You see, danger doesn't always kick the door down. Sometimes it sneaks in with a smile, wearing the mask of comfort, of routine, of normal. And the longer you let it stay, the stronger it grows. You've normalized it. You've made peace with it. You've even told yourself it's nothing. But deep inside, you know it's not nothing. You know it's sharp. You know it's heavy. You know it's poison disguised as perfume. The problem isn't that it's there. The problem is you've accepted it. You've given it permission to exist right under your nose, and now it owns you every day you walk past it. Every night you lay your head down with it near, you grow weaker. Not because it's powerful, but because you've allowed yourself to believe it's harmless. You've surrendered without even realizing it. That's the trick of the closest danger. It doesn't need to chase you. It just waits for you to keep ignoring it. And you do. Because it's easier to ignore than to confront. It's easier to close your eyes than to tear it out. But here's the thing, what you refuse to face grows teeth in the dark. And when it finally bites, it's too late to scream. Think about it. How many lives have been destroyed, not by the storms outside, but by the secrets inside? Not by the enemies out there, but by the habits, the addictions, the attachments hiding in plain sight. Everyone fears the big things: war, betrayal, loss. but it's always the small, hidden thing that does the most damage. A knife you never sharpened, but kept under your pillow. A memory you swore you forgot, but never buried. A bottle, a pill, a letter, a photograph. Objects that look so still, so innocent, until you realize they're chains around your throat. Chains you keep tightening by refusing to cut them off. The real danger closest to you is not just the thing itself. It's your silence about it. It's the way you look away when it calls you. It's the excuses you whisper to yourself when you know it's time to remove it. That silence is the soil where it grows. And every day you keep quiet, it spreads deeper roots in your room, in your life, in your soul. And by the time you finally notice how strong it's become, it's already wrapped around your neck. That's how it wins. Not by being stronger than you, but by being closer than you're willing to admit. So here you are, living side by side with the very thing designed to destroy you, treating it like a guest instead of an enemy. And the truth, it laughs at you every night, every morning, because it doesn't need to fight. It just needs you to keep ignoring it. That's the danger of the closest threat. It's not the loudest. It's not the biggest. It's the one you choose to pretend isn't there. What you tolerate doesn't stay still. It grows claws. You tell yourself, it's nothing, I can handle it. It's small. It won't hurt me. But the truth is, the things you allow to linger begin to weave themselves into your skin. They become habits, addictions, patterns you can't shake off. And the worst part, you don't even notice it happening. You think you're in control because you can still laugh, still work, still smile, but inside you're chained. That little poison you've excused again and again. That object you haven't thrown away. That voice you keep letting whisper in your ear. It's not just sitting quietly. It's feeding on you. Because tolerance is permission. And once you grant permission, you've already surrendered more than you realize. You see, the world doesn't break you in one swing. No, it breaks you in small cracks. Little compromises you tell yourself don't matter. A lie here, a secret there, a delay in cutting it off, a shrug instead of action. That's how you end up stuck. Not because the thing was too big, but because you made it comfortable. You let it stay. You fed it with your silence, your excuses, your procrastination. And every day you let it stay, it grows stronger while you grow weaker. Until one day, you wake up and realize it doesn't need your permission anymore. It owns you. What you once tolerated now controls you. People love to pretend that they're free while their chains rattle behind them. They say, it's fine, I can stop anytime. I can leave it whenever I want. But if you could, you already would. If you had that power, you wouldn't still be here, circling around the same problem, holding on to the same weight. You think you're strong because you're still standing. But maybe you're only standing because your chains haven't pulled tight yet. Maybe you're only laughing because the rope hasn't burned through your skin. But the moment will come. That's the deal with tolerating poison. It doesn't kill you instantly. It waits, patient, smiling. And when the time is right, when you're too tired, too distracted, too weak, that's when it tightens its grip. Ask yourself, what is it you've been tolerating? A bad habit, a toxic relationship, a secret that gnaws at you in the quiet hours. Maybe it's not a person or a thing. Maybe it's a version of yourself you refuse to bury. Whatever it is, you've allowed it to sit in your room, in your head, in your heart, convincing yourself it's harmless. But harmless things don't demand your energy. Harmless things don't steal your sleep. Harmless things don't make you feel heavy when no one else is watching. You already know it's not harmless, but you've lied to yourself so long you almost believe it. Almost. Until that creeping reminder comes back, whispering, reminding you that what you tolerate today will destroy you tomorrow. Control is a funny illusion. You think you have it because you can still choose. But every day you tolerate the wrong thing, your choices shrink. What started as an option becomes a pattern. What began as a visitor becomes the master. That's the exchange. You give it time, it takes your strength. You give it silence, it takes your freedom. And once it has enough of you, you won't even remember what life looked like without it. You'll confuse the chain for comfort. You'll mistake the prison for safety. And by then, you won't just be tolerating it, you'll be defending it. That's how deep the lie goes, so don't be fooled. What you tolerate is already writing the script for your life. Every day you allow it, every time you excuse it, you're handing over a piece of yourself, one piece at a time, until there's nothing left but the shell of who you could have been. And the cruelest part, you'll look back and realize it didn't even have to be this way. It was never stronger than you. You just let it stay too long. Familiarity, that's the real blindfold. You live with something long enough, and suddenly it doesn't even register anymore. You stop seeing it, stop questioning it, stop recognizing it for what it really is. It could be a chain wrapped around your neck, but if you've been wearing it for years, you'll start calling it jewelry. That's the curse of what's familiar. It tricks your eyes. You normalize the very thing that's draining you, because repetition numbs the truth. And the moment you stop noticing, it gains power. It hides in the open, and you defend it without even realizing it. It's like when a sound plays over and over again in the background. At first, it's loud, distracting, unbearable. But then your brain adjusts. You tune it out. You live with it. And eventually, you don't even hear it anymore. But just because you've tuned it out doesn't mean it isn't there. It's still shaping your environment, still setting the rhythm of your life, still pulling strings in ways you don't even notice. That's what happens with hidden threats, habits, addictions, toxic people, destructive thoughts. They linger so long in your life that you stop seeing them as problems. They become part of the furniture in your room, the wallpaper on your walls. Ordinary, comfortable, safe. Until one day you wake up and realize the thing you've been calling normal has been quietly choking you. You tell yourself, it's always been this way, so maybe it's supposed to be. That's how familiarity deceives you. It doesn't argue. It doesn't scream. It just sits there, waiting for you to get used to its weight. And you do. Because it's easier to accept a chain than to break it. Easier to convince yourself the prison is home than to fight your way out. Familiarity is a cage you build for yourself. And once you decorate it, once you start calling it comfort, you forget it's even there. You forget you're trapped. And that's when it's most dangerous to think about the people you've kept around because they've always been there, even though you know they drain you. Think about the habits you excuse because they feel natural, even though they're killing you slowly. Think about the lies you tell yourself because you've repeated them so often they sound like truth. That's what happens when you stop questioning the familiar. You end up defending the very thing that's destroying you. You protect it, nurture it, guard it, because you've mistaken it for a part of you. You've forgotten that it's a parasite, not a partner, the scariest part. Familiarity doesn't just blind you to danger. It blinds you to opportunity. You can't step into something new when your eyes are glued to the old. You can't grab hold of freedom when your hands are clutching what's killing you. The longer you live with something, the more you confuse it with identity. You start to believe that without it, you'd be lost. But the truth is, it's the reason you're lost. It's the reason you can't see clearly. It's the fog covering your eyes. And as long as you refuse to pull it away, you'll keep stumbling, keep circling, keep wasting time in a life that doesn't even belong to you. Want to know why most people never escape the poison in their room? Because they fall in love with it. They love the comfort of the familiar, even when it hurts. They cling to the predictable pain rather than risk the unknown freedom. They'd rather sleep in a burning bed than step into the cold air outside. That's the insanity of it, choosing the known prison over the unknown escape. And yet, that's exactly what most people do. Because familiarity doesn't just blind you, it seduces you. It whispers, stay. Don't move. This is who you are. This is where you belong. And the longer you listen, the more you forget there was ever a choice, but there is a choice. And deep down, you know it. You've seen glimpses of it in the cracks, in the moments when you dare to imagine life without that weight. But then fear drags you back. Familiarity tightens its grip. And once again, you call it normal, you call it safe, and you let it sit quietly in your room, smiling at how easy it is to fool you. Delay, that's the sweetest poison of them all. You tell yourself you'll deal with it tomorrow, next week, someday. You look at the things sitting in your room, mocking you, and you whisper, not yet. You think you're buying yourself time, but in reality, you're selling it. Every second you delay, the poison drips deeper. Every minute you wait, the roots spread wider. And by the time you finally decide to act, it's no longer a weed you can pull out with your hands. It's a forest wrapped around your throat. Delay is how small poisons become monsters. It always starts small. A little compromise, a little excuse. I'll handle it when I'm ready. But here's the truth. You're never ready. Readiness is an illusion. All you have is now. But delay convinces you that later is safer, later is wiser, later is easier. And so you wait. And while you're waiting, the poison isn't waiting. It's working. It's crawling through the cracks in your soul, digging into places you won't notice until it's too late. That's how delay destroys. It tricks you into thinking you're in control, when in reality, you've already surrendered. You've felt it, haven't you? That weight in the back of your mind, that nagging thought you keep shoving aside. You know what needs to go. You know what doesn't belong in your life anymore. But instead of ripping it out, you bargain with it. You say, one more day, one more night. I'll deal with it after this week, after this moment, after this season. And so it stays, and you stay chained, and every day you delay. It tightens its grip until one morning you wake up and realize you can't even imagine life without it. It's not just in your room anymore. It's in your bloodstream. Delay makes cowards out of strong men. It convinces warriors to lay down their weapons. It makes you trade freedom for comfort, power for procrastination. And the worst part, you think you're safe while you wait. You think nothing changes. But everything changes, because the poison never sleeps. It doesn't respect your schedule. It doesn't pause because you asked it to. No, it grows while you sleep. It feeds while you rest. It sharpens its claws while you look the other way. And when you finally try to fight back, you realize you're not fighting the same small enemy anymore. You're fighting the beast you fed with every day of your delay. People like to believe they'll act when it matters. That when the time comes, they'll rise up and do what needs to be done. But delay has a way of softening you, of making you weaker. By the time matters, you're too worn down, too drained, too entangled to even lift a hand. Delay is not neutral. It's corrosive. It doesn't freeze time. It steals it. And you don't notice the theft until years have gone, and all you're left with is regret for the battles you never fought, the chains you never broke, the poison you never removed. Think about it. How many people are walking corpses because they delayed? How many are living with ghosts in their rooms, thinking they'll clean them out someday? Someday, until someday never comes. That's the tragedy of delay. It convinces you there's more time, while secretly draining the little time you actually have. And when you finally look up, the years are gone. The opportunities vanished, and the poison. It's not just in your room anymore. It's sitting on your chest, laughing in your face, and deep down, you know this. Every time you delay, you feel that sting of guilt. That whisper that says, you should have done it now. But instead of listening, you silence it. You numb it. You tell yourself you'll act tomorrow. But tomorrow is the biggest lie you've ever believed. Tomorrow doesn't exist. There's only now. And the longer you delay, the more you guarantee that later will never come. Letting go hurts, doesn't it? That's why you keep holding on. You clutch the thing in your room like it's part of your soul. even though deep down you know it's rotting you from the inside out. The funny part is, you're terrified of the pain of removing it, but not the pain of keeping it. You've learned to live with the knife in your chest because you've convinced yourself ripping it out will kill you. But here's the trick. It's not the removal that destroys you. It's the staying. You think you're saving yourself by avoiding the cut, but every day you let it sit there. It bleeds you dry, drip by drip, until you're just a hollow version of who you could have been. You see, pain has two sides. The pain of holding on and the pain of letting go. And the one you've chosen, it's the longer, crueler one. You already feel it when you wake up, when you try to sleep, when you're alone with your thoughts. That heaviness, that restlessness, that quiet voice that says, something isn't right. But instead of listening, you smother it. You say, it's fine, I can handle it. It's safer to keep it than to face what happens if I lose it. You think the pain of release will be unbearable. But the truth is, you're already bearing the unbearable. You've just disguised it as normal. What you don't realize is that the moment you cut it off, the pain won't last forever. It'll sting, yes. It'll burn. It'll feel like a piece of you is dying. But that's because it is. The part of you that's been chained. And once that part is gone, once you stop feeding the poison, the bleeding stops. The wound heals. The pain fades. What you thought would destroy you actually frees you. But the longer you avoid it, the deeper the roots go. The longer you clutch it, the more it becomes fused into your identity, until you can't tell where you end and it begins. And that's the most dangerous illusion of all, that without it, you'd be nothing. But the truth is, without it, you'd finally be everything. Think about what you've kept out of fear. Maybe it's an object tied to a memory, a face you can't erase, a habit you swear you'll quit tomorrow. You've told yourself you're strong because you endure it. But enduring isn't strength, it's slavery. Real strength is in cutting it loose. Real strength is in choosing the short, sharp pain over the slow, endless suffocation. But fear has tricked you. It whispers that release will ruin you. It whispers that you'll be empty, broken, lost. And you believe it because it's easier to cling to the devil, you know, than to face the freedom you don't. That's why most people never let go. They'd rather rot in familiar pain than risk the unknown. They'd rather keep bleeding in silence than face the scream of pulling it out. But what they don't see is that the scream ends. The silence never does. The silence eats you year after year, until you're a ghost walking through your own life. And by then, it's not just the thing in your room that's poisoned you. It's you who's chosen the poison. You who's defended it. You who's called it comfort. You who's worn it like armor, when really it's a coffin. Letting go hurts less than staying chained. But you won't know that until you rip it out, until you feel the blood drain and the wound breathe, until you finally see that the cut you've been afraid of was the doorway you've been waiting for. The door has always been there. But as long as you keep holding on, you'll never walk through it.